What if I told you the story of the Joestar family, is just the beginning? What if, long before Dio, long before the Pillarmen, another, more ancient evil lurked in the very foundations of the Joestar estate? This is the story of a young Jonathan Joestar, a gentleman, a scholar, and an athlete, but not yet the master of Hamon. A man armed only with his intellect, his strength, and his unyielding sense of justice, stepping into a darkness he could never have imagined. Our story begins not with a fight for the world, but with a quest for knowledge. Jonathan, driven by his passion for archaeology, decides to explore a forgotten, crumbling wing of his family's vast estate. Legends whispered of hidden passages and a chilling secret buried beneath the ivy-choked stones. For Jonathan, this was a chance to connect with his heritage, to unearth the historical truths that shaped his lineage. He had no idea he was about to uncover a legacy far darker than any history book could ever record. As he pushed through the heavy, iron-wrought gates, the air grew thick, oppressive. A strange metallic scent, like old blood and damp earth, hung heavy. The architecture was ancient, far older than the rest of the manor. Carved into the stone were cryptic symbols and family crests he didn't recognize, variations of the Joestar star that felt wrong. It was as if a branch of his family tree had been deliberately severed and hidden away. Brushing aside centuries of dust and decay, his exploration led him to a section of the floor that felt hollow. Using his formidable strength, he pried away the flagstones, revealing a hidden entrance, a dark maw leading down into the earth. This wasn't a cellar. It was a labyrinth, a subterranean maze that predated the estate itself. The moment he descended, a chill unlike any winter's cold seeped into his bones. The walls of the labyrinth were a tapestry of horror. Grotesque carvings depicted twisted figures in sacrificial poses, and a recurring motif chilled him to the core: a stone mask. It wasn't the mask he would later come to know, the one that would define his destiny. This one was older, more primal, its features etched with a raw, ancient malevolence. As he navigated the narrow corridors, his sharp mind and athletic prowess were put to the test. He narrowly avoided pressure plates that triggered crushing blocks in deep pits, his every move a dance with death. It was clear this place was designed to keep people out or to keep something in. Deeper within the oppressive dark, he stumbled upon a small, sealed chamber. Inside, miraculously preserved, were a series of leather-bound journals. They belonged to distant, forgotten Joestar ancestors. As Jonathan read the frantic, spidery script, a horrifying truth began to unravel. Centuries ago, a desperate branch of his family, lusting for power and influence, had made a pact, not with a vampire, but with something else, something that slumbered beneath the earth. The journals spoke of a shadowy, formless entity, a being of immense power that offered forbidden knowledge in exchange for a terrible price: the purity of their bloodline. The ancient stone mask depicted on the walls was the conduit for this pact, a focus for rituals that warped reality and granted its users a subtle, insidious control over the world. These ancestors hadn't become monsters of the night. They had become something far more unsettling: wardens and worshippers of an eldritch god. As he read, Jonathan began to realize the labyrinth wasn't just stone and shadow. It was alive. The very air seemed to breathe. Corridors would shift and twist behind him, leading to dead ends that weren't there moments before. Whispers echoed from impossible directions, speaking his name, tempting him with promises of uncovering all of history's secrets. A suffocating presence pressed down on him, a palpable will that sought to break his spirit. Then he saw them, the labyrinth's previous victims. Skeletal remains, contorted in agony, were fused into the very stone of the walls, their forms becoming part of the structure itself. Jonathan realized the terrifying truth. The entity was feeding on the life force, the fear, and the vitality of anyone who dared enter, slowly, gruesomely assimilating them into its stone embrace. The metallic scent was the lingering trace of countless lives consumed by the living tomb. He wasn't just exploring a ruin. He was inside a predator. Finally, he broke through into the heart of the darkness, a vast, cavernous chamber. And there, on a grand altar of black stone, was the artifact of his ancestors' corruption, the ancient stone mask. It was immense, monstrous, and it pulsed with a faint, sickly green light, a malevolent energy that warped the air around it. The journals had called this the Chamber of Awakening, warning that when the mask was fully aroused, the labyrinth would collapse into a pocket of pure madness. The entity, now fully aware of the noble, powerful life force that had trespassed into its sanctum, finally manifested. Not as a physical monster, but as a direct assault on Jonathan's mind. Visions flooded his consciousness. His father, disappointed. His future, ruined. Irina, lost to him forever. A voice, ancient and seductive, offered him the power to prevent it all, the knowledge to right every wrong. All he had to do was embrace the entity, to put on the mask. Simultaneously, the chamber itself turned against him. Stone tendrils erupted from the floor, trying to ensnare his legs. The walls buckled and groaned, threatening to crush him. The entity was trying to break his will and his body, to make him another permanent, screaming sculpture in its gallery of despair. But this was Jonathan Joestar. His spirit, forged in kindness and honor, was a fortress. He roared in defiance, his will a tangible force against the psychological onslaught. "I am a Joestar," he bellowed into the abyss. "My honor is my own. I will not be tempted by shadows." He knew he couldn't punch this evil into submission. He had to outthink it. His keen eyes, honed by years of study, scanned the chamber. He saw faint, glowing lines etched into the floor, channeling energy from smaller, satellite stones toward the central mask. The power source. With a surge of adrenaline, he used his immense strength not to fight the entity, but its foundation. He leaped towards one of the satellite stones, a massive pillar of carved obsidian. Gritting his teeth, muscles straining to their absolute limit, he put his entire body into pushing it. The stone groaned, scraping against the floor. With a final desperate heave, he toppled the pillar. It crashed to the ground, shattering the energy lines. The effect was instantaneous. The green light in the mask flickered and died. The oppressive presence vanished, and the entire chamber began to shake violently. The labyrinth was collapsing. Without the entity's power to sustain its impossible geometry, it was caving in on itself. Jonathan ran. He sprinted through the now crumbling corridors, dodging falling rock and gaping chasms opening in the floor. The whispers were replaced by the roar of destruction. He scrambled up the entrance stairs, just as the passage behind him sealed forever with a final deafening crash. He emerged into the fading daylight, bruised, battered, and gasping for air. He was alive, but the victory felt hollow. He had no proof, no artifact, nothing but the dirt on his clothes and the horrifying truth now seared into his soul. The knowledge he carried was a burden far heavier than any stone. He had learned that some family secrets are buried for a reason, and that the greatest evils are not always the ones you can see, but the ones that hide in your own blood. Later, standing in the grand hall of the Joestar Manor, he looked up at the portraits of his ancestors. He saw them differently now. He saw the faint, hidden darkness behind their noble eyes. He had survived the living labyrinth, but a part of him would forever be haunted by the echoes of the abyss, forever changed by the true, dark legacy of the Joestar family. Thanks for watching. This was a what-if story exploring the depths of the Joestar lore. If you enjoyed this journey into the darkness, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the worlds we love. Until next time.